Arif Ahmed from the Office for Students says university isn't a safe space and that being shocked or offended is part of getting an education. It comes as new guidance is published ahead of a law coming into force this August aimed at protecting free speech on campus. I'm joined now by the organiser for Living Freedom, Alastair. Donald, welcome to the show. Many people have been asking for a law like this for a long time. Could you first of all talk about why you think something like this is actually even necessary?
Well, I think we've heard time and again over years and years about the problems of free speech on university campuses, so it's no surprise to many people that something has got to be done to address that problem. And 5 years ago, a group of people got together, talked with the then Conservative government about a new law which eventually, after much discussion in the Houses, was eventually passed, only for the Labour Party to come in to power and then almost as their first act to try to scupper it. And then it went into abeyance for a few months, and over the past 8, 9, 10 months there's been a concerted effort by many academics and academic organisations and campaigners to ensure that that bill does, or act as it is, does actually take effect. And what we're seeing just now, the announcement this week, is that the guidance that they've just produced will come into effect on the 1st of August. So it does seem that the campaigners and the academics organisations have prevailed and made this successful, which is brilliant, because one of the great things about the bill itself was that even more than just the legislation itself was the galvanising effect that it had on academics and even students, actually. So organisations like Academics for Academic Freedom have now got branches right the way throughout the country.
So it's kind of also quite optimistic not optimistic, but it's quite heartening, really, to see that, you know, a group of people getting together, recognising there is a problem within one of our institutions, within our education system, and actually doing something about it and hopefully fixing this problem. Absolutely,
yes. And the important thing for me is that it's academics and to some extent students as well within universities that have seen, recognised the problem and wanted to do something about it. And so their fight back against the government's attempt to scupper the Act, and I mean, they have taken some important parts of the legislation out of it, and which won't actually now be enacted. But nevertheless, this guidance suggests that there is going to be something that happens from August. And having looked through the guidance, you know, I've been quite impressed, very impressed in many ways. It's got some very good examples in it of how situations relating to free speech emerge in universities and what can be done to prevent free speech being shut down. And all these examples are quite well worked through. It is quite nuanced, and it recognises differences in different situations. So all of that, I think, is a very positive thing. And, you know, the Arif Ahmed at the Office for Students has got to be congratulated on what he's managed to create.
This video is sponsored by Saily. Saily is a brand new eSIM service app. What it does is get you a local SIM card that you can use when you're traveling, so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a text back home. They've got eSIM plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions, so pretty much wherever you're going, they'll be able to make sure you're connected. So how does it work? Well, all you've got to do is hit our link in the description to download the app. It will work on iOS or Android. Buy a plan. You can choose the best time frame for you, and then just install the eSIM on your phone. When you land at your holiday destination, you can activate your plan instantly. Saily eSIMs only ever have to be installed once, so when you go on your next trip, you just buy a plan for a new country, turn that eSIM back on, and just like that, you could be watching the GB News YouTube channel. You can be connected anywhere you go, and you don't have to deal with patchy Wi-Fi in your hotels. So get sorted for your next trip by downloading Saily using the link in the description below. And if you use our code NEWS at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on us.
Did you agree with what he said about how being offended is part of getting an education?
Well, I think that, yes. I mean, ideas are offensive to many people, depending on what they are, obviously. And if you're going to go into a university, then you should be open to engaging with all ideas, no matter whether they conflict with your own personal politics or whatever else. You need to be, I think, willing to engage with these, and you can't just run away from things that you find difficult. So on that respect, what he's tried to do, suggesting things like students immediately when they arrive at university are engaging with subjects that they don't like, topics, views that they don't like, I think that's to be welcomed. It's something that we in Living Freedom have also tried to do in terms of creating programs within universities where young students can come along and can actually debate things.
Because do you think that students, like certainly those entering the higher education system, might have never really exposed to any ideas that are different to what they thought, and almost sort of going in without a shell to protect themselves?
Yes, I think I mean, there's a couple of problems, I think. I mean, one is the way that young people arrive at universities these days. There was an interesting report published recently which showed that 20% of young people of school age now have some sort of mental health issue going on, and I think the Labour government came in with a manifesto commitment to put a mental health professional in every school. And I think the influence of things like mental health and ideas around well-being are tremendously important for young people, in that they encourage an identification at an early age with having low self-esteem and not being able to deal with life, and ultimately, when you're like that, not being able to handle ideas. So the danger is that we've socialised young people into a situation, even before they turn up at university, where they're ill-equipped to deal with university life. And I mean, I'm old enough to remember when you arrived at university having come of age. That was the point. It was an important reference point to you being an adult, and you've been freed of your family commitments, and you've been a young person who has individual responsibility and is willing to engage with the world. And I think what we see with universities these days is the exact opposite. The universities take on this kind of parental role, sheltering people, assuming before they even get the chance to develop that there's something that's going to be difficult in life at universities. And that, I think, is going to be part of the problem of the way that this undoubtedly positive aspiration to see young people exercise free speech. I think that's going to be one of the difficulties.
It comes into play in August. Do you think there's going to be an immediate culture shift? Or do you think it's going to be more gradual?
I think it will be difficult. I think it will be gradual at best, because I think there'll be a lot of resistance to this. I mean, we've already seen, if you think about things like the Supreme Court decision on women's rights, and you've seen a kind of institutional resistance to what was a very clear court ruling. And it's pretty clear from the way that this legislation has been received that the Russell Group of universities, the very influential big group of universities, has not been happy at it coming in, and they, in collaboration with the Labour Party, really were probably the people that tried to scupper it. So there's not at the heart of many universities an embrace of a culture of open debate and freedom. And I think what we're asking the Act to do is to be a top-down mechanism that leverages in free speech, and issuing fines, quite substantial fines actually, which arguably quite
University
authoritarian.
Of Sussex, I think it was $500,000. That's a lot of money.
Over $500,000, and threats of
and they're contesting
even bigger
that
fines. They're contesting it, and regardless of what you think, can a law be used to leverage in free speech? I think that's open to debate. I think much more productive would be an embrace by the universities themselves and the academics within them. And I've mentioned organisations like Academics for Freedom and Campaign for Academic Freedom, who I think are very good. But then you've also got the unions within that represent academics who are fundamentally opposed to free speech. So you've got quite a level of resistance to free speech, both at an institutional and an academic level. So the battle, to me, needs to be. I would see this guidance as a starting point rather than the end of the the story. It's galvanised lots of people around the cause of free speech and academic freedom, and I think they need to be ready for a battle ahead to make sure that in the day-to-day life of universities, that culturally free speech becomes something that's embraced and celebrated, and young people are enthused by it. And I think that's quite a long, hard struggle ahead till we achieve that.
Well, good news, but the fight continues. That's how we'll leave it. Fine. Well, thank you very much. That is the organiser for Living Freedom, Alastair Donald.